Hey guys, today we're going to be breaking down Alabama's game-by-game schedule for the 2023 football season, predicting who wins, who loses, and what the final score will be. Hit that like button, subscribe, let's get started. 2022 season was considered a disappointment by most of Alabama's fans. It was a very strong year, but if they don't make the playoffs, the fans consider it a disappointment. It's a very spoiled fan base. They're very used to winning. It's national championship or bust. Saban lost a lot of talent last year. He lost Bryce Young to the Panthers. He lost Will Anderson Jr. to the Texans, Gibbs to the Lions. He lost quite a few pretty good players to the portal. But Bama doesn't rebuild. They retool. So they're going to be breaking out a lot of new starters. They got a recent coordinator. They got Kevin Steele at defensive coordinator, a lot of new faces, a lot of new players. But let's get started breaking down every single week. Week 1 opens up with Middle Tennessee on September 2nd. Middle Tennessee, last year they won 8 games. This is not going to be one of them in 2022. This is basically a scrimmage for Alabama, but it is a good opportunity for them to break out a lot of their fresh players, get some snaps in versus a team. This is really where the offense should kind of open up, try to stretch their legs, time to get ready for the bigger games coming up later in the season, but it's going to be a blowout. Mainly it's how many reps can the new quarterbacks get starting. I'm thinking it's going to be about a 50-10 Bama wins. They're going to start out the year 1-0. Week 2, Texas is visiting September 9th. This is the game to me for Alabama's year. A lot hinges on this. Now, when I say a lot hinges on this, the reason that I'm saying that is because if they lose here, that means if they lose another game for the rest of the season, they're not making the playoffs. No 2-loss team is going to get in the playoffs, so they have to win this. This is basically the main competitive game for the first half of their season, and if they don't win, Bama fans are going to be disappointed. They're going to start saying Saban's getting too old, and they need to start looking at other coaches. It's a big game. Texas is a very talented team. Last year, Bama won visiting Texas, but a lot went in Bama's favor. Quinn Ewers, he got knocked out first half. That went in Bama's favor. A lot of missed calls down the stretch, a lot of refs not doing their job. Every call went in Bama's favor. Bama barely won the game. This year, Quinn Ewers will be healthy. If he gets knocked out for some reason, you got Arch Manning right behind him. Texas is loaded. I think Bama lost more talent than Texas did last year. Texas is going to be healthy. Texas is going to be looking out for revenge. I think this is going to be a tough game, but when all is said and done, I would not be surprised to see Texas actually come to Tuscaloosa and win this game. But I think it's going to be close. Prediction, Texas wins 30-24. Bama, week 2 is now 1-1. Week 3 at USF, September 16th. I pity USF here. Bama's going to come down to Tampa, and they're going to be out for blood. They're going to be out for revenge after that Texas loss. Saban will be mad. He will have heard the noise. They're going to make an example of USF. They're going to win big. I'm thinking about 60-13. Bama, week 3 will now be 2-1. Week 4, Ole Miss, September 23rd. I think this is kind of a trap game here. I actually respect Lane Kiffin, I think, more than most. I think he's a great coach. He's a great offensive mind. Ole Miss always scores points. They got Quinshon Jenkins at running back. He's a beast. He's one of the best running backs, if not the top running back in the country. But outside of him, Ole Miss really doesn't have any big playmakers. Jackson Dart, he's okay. I think Ole Miss is going to score some points. But the lack of playmakers versus Bama's skill position players, they don't have the talent to exploit Bama. Bama's going to win. I'm thinking about 37-24. Bama's 3-1. Week 5, Mississippi State, September 30th, and they're at Mississippi State. Now, if Mike Leach is here, I think this is a lot better game. Will Rogers, in his senior year with Mike Leach's offense, I think he would have had a great year, but Leach's offensive philosophy has now been abandoned. Will Arnett's the defensive coordinator. He's now the head coach, so they're going to be a defensively focused team now. I don't think that matches up well versus Alabama. They don't have the skill on defense to shut Alabama down. You have to be able to outscore Alabama. Mississippi State cannot keep up with Alabama. Alabama's going to win 41-16. Alabama's now 4-1. Week 6 at Texas A&M, October 17th. This is really a personalities game. You've got Saban, you've got Jimbo, you've got Petrino. That's a lot of interesting personalities all on one field. To me, the thing that A&M has going for them is that this game is in College Station. That should keep the score close. Their fan base is rabid. They're going to be loud. They're going to be proud. It'll keep them in the game, but not close enough. I think Bama's going to pull away later in the game. In the third quarter, going into the fourth quarter, Bama's going to win 27-17. They're now 5-1. Week 7, Arkansas, October 14th. Arkansas still has KJ Jefferson. That's always a threat. He's a good player when he's healthy, but they did lose Kendall Briles to TCU. To me, that's a big loss. They brought in Dan Enos. He was the offensive coordinator at Maryland. Prior to that, Miami. I think that's a step backwards. No offense to Dan Enos. Kendall Briles is better. He's a lot more creative. KJ Jefferson, he will keep them in the game lively somewhat for a little bit, but then Bama's going to completely pull away and open up the floodgates. I think Bama's just by far the superior team. Bama's going to win 41-20. They're 6-1. Week 8, Tennessee, October 21st. Bama rolled into Rocky Top last year. That was a great game. Josh Heupel's team was ready to go. Great quarterback play. Great. Hyatt played great. Really good game. Josh Heupel was ready to go. He had the air raid primed up. It was a shootout. Tennessee won. We all know what happened at Bama after that. I don't see that happening this year. It's pretty much a matchup of both teams lost quarterbacks, lost great players. Who retooled the best? I think it's going to be Bama. Tennessee's still going to be good this year, but their roster is not as competitive and loaded as Bama's is, even though they have a great roster. So I think Tennessee's definitely going to keep the game competitive because Josh Heupel's a great coach, great offensive mind, but Bama's going to close away. They're going to edge them out. I think Bama wins 37-31. Bama's now 7-1. That's pretty good. They're doing good so far. Next, LSU. We're getting into that second half of the year. That's November 4th. Here we go again. This was a great game last year. Tough back-to-back games for Bama here. They had Tennessee, they have LSU, but this time the tables are turned. Brian Kelly, he's now coming to Tuscaloosa. Saban should have everything ironed out for his team by this point. All of the guys who were fresh faces starting the year are the fresh faces that went into Texas. That's not the case now. Everyone's been starters for a while. Quarterback play should be down. Running backs, wideouts, defense, everything should be legit by this point. Now, this game I was kind of 50-50 on. I was flip-flopping back and forth. It's a tough one here because Brian Kelly is a great coach. I think Bama's the better team here, but I think it's going to be Jaden Daniels' legs that make the difference in this game. He's going to keep Bama's offense off the field and on the sidelines because he's going to be running for first downs. I think Bama's going to miss a field goal, and I think late in the game, Daniels is going to run, he's going to scramble and get a first down, and that's what's going to kill the game, and that's what's going to run the clock out and end the game. That's exactly the way that I think the game is going to end, and that's going to be the difference. Surprisingly enough, I think Brian Kelly pulls it off again back-to-back years. LSU wins 30-27. Bama's now 7-2. But like I said, I'm 50-50 on that one. It's tough. Next week at Kentucky, November 11th. Saban is not going to be happy at this point. 2 losses. Will Levis is gone. Devin Leary transferred in from NC State. He's now the quarterback. Kentucky always has a stout defense. The offense, not so much. So Kentucky, they're going to make it a game. They're going to play tough. They're going to have a good defensive line. But you're not going to out-physical Bama. Bama's going to win 30-17. Bama's now 8-2. Next game, not at, Chattanooga. coming to Tuscaloosa, November 18th. So this is your typical Bama FCS trash game. Saban's going to be seeking to bludgeon them. This is the end of the year. Saban's going to start on that typical, we're the best 2-loss team. We're better than a 1-loss Big Ten team, so we should be getting into the playoffs. So, he needs to run the score up to try to make his case. Same thing he kind of does whenever he doesn't make the playoffs is start running up the score and saying that they're the best team. So I think he's just going to open up the floodgates on this team. Bama's going to torch them. They're going to run the score up, deservedly so. There's nothing wrong with that to me. To me, they win 59-6, and they're 9-2. Last game at Auburn. Hugh Freeze, November 25th. This is the game. This is going to have all the hype. Hugh Freeze is back. We know Hugh Freeze is not afraid of Bama. I actually think Hugh Freeze personally relishes playing Bama, and he knows that he can beat Saban. That's a lot when you have that confidence. Hugh Freeze has beaten him before, but I'm sorry, guys. This is not the year. Hugh Freeze is not going to beat Bama. I think it's too much to expect Freeze to come in year one and actually beat Bama. It's going to take 2 to 3 years to flip that roster. He got transfers. He's got a good recruiting class. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. Bama's already built. Hugh Freeze is building his team. I think Bama's going to win 38-20. Bama's going to close out the regular season 10-2. So that's back-to-back 10-2 years. I still think Bama will win the SEC West. I think LSU is probably going to go 9-3, have 2 losses in the SEC, and probably lose to Florida State. That's what I'm thinking. So I think Bama inches by with only 1 conference loss, but finishing the year 10-2. But they'll have the chance to play Georgia in the SEC championship. And you're going to hear Saban saying, 2 losses, we got Georgia. If we beat Georgia, we should be in. And everyone's going to be debating whether that actually happens or not. But it'll be interesting. But I think that that's the way the season's going to play out. But if Georgia wins, I think Bama's going to miss the playoffs back-to-back years. You're going to hear rumors, whispers, Saban's too old, it's time for him to go. But that's a great year, guys, especially with all of the new faces he's breaking in. So that's how I think Bama's year will finish, 10-2, going into a great bowl game that they'll probably win. But great year. That's a game-by-game breakdown of my predictions for Alabama, the win-loss record, and the scores. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thanks.